You click on WIFI and see the word connected. You think, all right, now I can go online. But wait, was it really that easy? If you're watching this video right now, you owe your thanks to something far more complex than a simple Wi-Fi signal. In fact, what's happening could almost be called a miracle. Because every single piece of data reaching your screen has traveled thousands of kilometers to get there. Have you ever thought about the massive cables laid beneath the oceans, the secret data fortresses hidden in the Nevada desert, or the enormous server farms scattered across the globe? The internet is actually a far more intricate and vast system than we imagine. It may operate silently, but it sits right at the center of our lives. And sometimes, the fate of this enormous network depends on a single cable lying at the bottom of the sea. For instance, in 2022, a tiny malfunction in the cable connecting France and the United States nearly brought the flow of data between the two continents to a halt, a process that normally takes just milliseconds. So yes, sometimes when your screen freezes, the reason might literally be a cable accident deep under the ocean. But how does a video, like the one you're watching right now, manage to stand out among billions of pieces of data on the internet and make its way all the way to your screen? Come with me now, and let's follow this invisible journey together. It all began, in fact, inside a massive data center. Everything you do on the internet, whether watching a video, sharing a photo, or sending a message, actually happens in a physical place. There are real machines that process, store, and route all of these actions. The places where these machines are gathered together are called data centers. But don't let the name fool you. This isn't just some ordinary computer room. It's a serious place, designed like a digital fortress of the modern age. For example, there's a facility located right in the middle of the Nevada desert, the Citadel campus. And just like its name suggests, it really does look like a fortress. It spans nearly 3 million square meters. Yes, you heard that right. It's almost the size of a small city. Inside, thousands of servers run 24/7, constantly processing, sending, and receiving data, just like an invisible factory. But with that many machines running, the inside heats up like an oven. That's why these centers have special cooling systems. Power outage? No problem. Generators kick in immediately. An attack? There are steel-reinforced walls. It even goes so far that there are protection systems designed against electromagnetic attacks. Because the data stored here could be more valuable than the infrastructure of an entire country. This is the true home of the video you're watching right now, one of these massive centers. And this data is usually stored on SSDs, or solid-state drives. These drives act as the memory of powerful computers called servers. When you open YouTube and click on a video, you're actually sending a request to a server thousands of kilometers away, saying, "Hey, can you send me this video?" And here's where the magic begins. How does that video travel all the way to your screen in just a few seconds? At first, there seems to be a logical answer: satellites. After all, a signal could be sent from the data center up to a satellite, then relayed down to another antenna, and finally reach your phone. Sounds reasonable, right? But the truth is a bit more complicated. Those satellites are located about 36,000 kilometers above Earth, lined up along the equator. So for a data packet to reach you, it first has to go up that distance and then come back down the same distance. That's a total journey of 72,000 kilometers, which causes high latency, a delay in data transmission. And for real-time applications that require instant response, that's simply unacceptable. That's why the majority of the Internet still stays connected to the ground. The real Internet actually travels through incredibly powerful fiber-optic cables buried underground and stretched across the ocean floor. Imagine it. These cables wrap around almost the entire planet like a giant spider web, connecting continents together. The data traveling through these cables is transmitted in the form of light pulses. Yes, actual light. And that light can move at speeds of about 200,000 to 300,000 kilometers per second. That means the data reaches you almost at the speed of light, with almost zero loss along the way. But of course, these cables aren't just tossed into the ocean. Special ships are used to lay them down. These ships lower a massive plow-like machine called a plow onto the seabed. This device digs a trench on the ocean floor and places the fiber cable inside it. In some places, the cables are buried under the soil. In others, they're passed through protective channels. Because the ocean floor isn't as calm as you might imagine, the cables must be protected from rocks, water pressure, currents, and yes, sometimes even sharks. In fact, according to some reports, sharks might actually enjoy biting these cables. Why? Maybe they can sense the high-frequency signals running through them. Who knows? Building this kind of infrastructure isn't easy. It takes years of planning, massive budgets, and the approval of dozens of countries. What's even more interesting is that most of these cables are now owned by private companies. Tech giants like Facebook, Google, Amazon, and Microsoft lay and manage their own fiber networks. Because data is the most valuable resource of our time, and no one wants to hand over control of that resource to someone else. Now, let's move on to the part that's closest to you. Whether you're using Wi-Fi or mobile data, it doesn't really matter, because whatever you do, at some point, you're always connecting to those invisible fiber cables. The data coming from the Internet first travels through these cables. But remember, we said fiber cables transmit data using light signals. And light, of course, can't communicate directly with your phone. That's where modems and cell towers come into play. Inside them are special optical receivers that take the light and convert it into meaningful electrical signals. Then, these signals either travel to your computer through an Ethernet cable, or they're turned into radio waves and sent through the air to your phone. But hold on, we're not done yet. There are still a few more things to understand. How do these signals know where to go? Who receives what? That's where IP addresses come in. Every device on the Internet has its own address, just like your home address. If there's no address, the mail can't reach you. In the same way, without an IP address, data can't reach the right person. Your phone has an IP address. The server hosting the video you're watching has one too. But if I told you I just connected to 122.250.28.180, would that mean anything to you? Of course not. That's why we humans use domain names instead, like YouTube.com. And there's a system that translates these domain names into real IP addresses. It's called DNS. Think of it as the phone book of the Internet. When you type a website name into your browser, the DNS server steps in, finds which IP address you need to go to, and directs you to the correct destination. But how does the data actually travel? Think of it this way. Nothing moves as one big piece. Everything is broken down into tiny fragments, just like a puzzle. Each of these fragments is called a packet. And inside each packet, there's not just data, but also the sender and receiver's addresses, sequence numbers, and other information. As these packets move through the internet, they don't all have to take the same route. The system automatically chooses the fastest and safest path available for each one at that moment. Then, all those packets arrive at your device, reassembled in the correct order using their sequence numbers, and that's how your video starts playing. But what if a packet goes missing? No problem. Your device detects it instantly and asks for the missing piece to be sent again. Thanks to this system, the internet works both fast and reliably. All of this communication happens according to a set of rules. These rules are called protocols. They determine who sends what, when, and how. The most common one is TCP/IP. It ensures that data packets are delivered completely, correctly, and in the right order. But there are also other protocols for specific purposes, like email, live streaming, and voice calls. Each one specializes in its own job. And overseeing this entire system is a global regulatory organization called ICANN, based in the United States. ICANN manages the distribution of IP addresses, the registration of domain names, and the general standards for Internet protocols. You can think of it as the registry office of the entire Internet, where everyone's identity, address, and rules are kept. Now, I can almost hear you saying, "Why is everything centered in America, man?" Well, ICANN is technically an international organization that manages the Internet structure, but since its headquarters are in the U.S., some countries have started building their own systems because they don't like that idea. For example, China has created its own DNS infrastructure. Russia has even tested a system capable of switching entirely to its own internal network. So while ICANN still acts as the brain of the global Internet, some countries clearly want to keep that brain in their own vault. Now you know. Connecting to the Internet isn't just about clicking the little Wi-Fi icon on your screen. When you do that, servers all around the world spring into action. Data packets race off at nearly the speed of light, traveling beneath oceans, over mountains, through cities, sometimes across entire continents, until they finally reach your screen. Every video you watch, every message you send, runs on top of this massive infrastructure. Invisible, but very real. Silent, yet incredibly complex, and far more fragile than we realize. Because the Internet isn't some kind of magical cloud. It's buried underground, made of cables, signals, and billions of interconnected pieces forming a digital organism. And if even one link in that chain breaks, it's not just the signal that stops. The world itself might pause for a moment. If you've watched this video all the way to the end and learned something new, know that your support means the world to me. This is a brand new channel, and every like, subscription, and comment you leave truly helps me create more. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you on the next journey.